Today we have a crazy entitled parent story of a parent barging into their 24-year-old kid's very private medical exam. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, my entitled aunt is mad at me for not taking my entitled cousin's dog out for a walk. Let's start from there. There are 4 living in the family: my aunt, my grandmother, and my 2 cousins, entitled cousin, 14, and good cousin, 11. I'm a 16-year-old boy. They live 15 minutes away from my house. Well, I'd just woken up and I was lying on the bed and scrolling TikTok when I got a call from my aunt. I answered and they told me that Luke was not at home, neither was she, and Nika had broken his right hand and was afraid of falling or something. It's quite a big dog and it could easily have happened. Without even thinking, I told her I would walk the dog because I've walked their dog many times because I respect my grandmother and I know it would be inappropriate for me to refuse. Too many times I didn't walk my own dog and had gone down to their house, whether it had been raining, heat waves, stormy, or just I was feeling plain lazy, and yet I never refused. I got up, got ready, and my mother was making a new dish and I was hungry. I sat down to eat and went to their place. My dad asked me to buy our dog food, so I also did that. All this took exactly 30 to 40 minutes, and I went down to their place with quick steps. I got there, and oh my goodness, Luca, with only his underwear, is lying in front of the TV and watching. My grandmother is fussing in the kitchen, and Nika is in his room. Luke rudely told me that the dog had already been taken out, so I was surprised because Luke wasn't dressed, and my grandmother's too old to take him out. I got up and went into Nika's room and asked who took the dog out. I was told by an 11-year-old crippled child who's barely a kilo of the dog that he took the dog out for a walk. It got on my nerves because Luca was at home, my aunt lied to me, and Luca scored with his laziness. He's done this many times, complained to his mother about taking the dog out, and in the end they washed their hands on me. 2 days pass, and I was with my grandmother. My aunt met me on the way out. I was with my friends and my girlfriend, and she said the following thing to me. "Couldn't you have come a little earlier? What a behavior. It's like it's my fault that their son was sitting on their butt and I was obliged to take him for a walk." When I repeat, Luke was at home doing nothing and he just got lazy, and I, who lives 15 minutes away, had to go out on my own errands and still got up and went down, I would have understood if I tossed them away. I've never asked anyone to walk my dog from that family, and even if I asked, no one would ever agree. However, I don't understand why they ask me to walk the dog, why they insult me, and why they have complaints. I didn't ask for that dog, and whoever did should take a responsibility. I just had enough respect to not reject them and actually wanted to help out, and they don't even respect me for that. I don't know what to do. She totally embarrassed me, and I feel really mad at Luke for pulling this act. Honestly, for the dog's sake, could you take them back to live with you? I don't even know if anybody here would seem to care. They don't want to take care of the dog. Do they just enjoy having them around? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you can't get enough of hearing about these entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is Entitled Mom Gets Mad at My Mom for Her Robotic Kid, me. A bit of context for the story. I'm type 1 diabetic and people can tell pretty easily. My mom and I are part of a charity group, and we love the moms in our group, except for this mom, Entitled Mother. Entitled Mother constantly made trouble with me and my mom, which my mom is our class leader, from interrupting our class meetings so her daughter who has autism could take a brain break, to mocking me for having diabetes. Like, I understand that people with autism can get overstimulated very easily, but her daughter seemed fine and generally annoyed from the brain breaks. I probably shouldn't make assumptions, but I don't know. One day, my class went to our friend's Indian dance graduation, and we all dressed for the occasion since it's a pretty big milestone for her. Entitled Mother refused to dress up, and I thought that maybe she felt uncomfortable wearing the Indian clothing we were given. During the whole performance, which was 3 hours long, she was on her phone. Now, I understand how a child can get bored, but you're a grown woman. Her daughter could sit still and watch the entire 3-hour-long performance, so why couldn't she? During dinner, she refused to eat the Indian food we were given, saying that it looked gross. Indian food isn't for everyone, but you're at a cultural experience, at least try it. After the whole thing, my mom and I were heading back to the car when we heard Entitled Mother call for us. She handed her daughter's Indian costume back to us, and while complaining to my mom about how hard it was for her daughter to do her job in our class, my insulin pump sent an alarm that my blood glucose levels were high. "Why does your alarm have to go off all the time? It's so annoying," Entitled Mother shouts at me. "Sorry, Entitled Mother, I can't control it," I told her, but she could care less. "You should be ashamed having a robotic daughter. She should just learn to suck it up," Entitled Mother shouts at my mom. "Mom, stop calling her a robot. She's not a robot, she's just different," Entitled Mother's daughter says to her, and Entitled Mother scoffs. "You know what? Clearly no one's on my side. Maybe I should leave this group and it'll be all your fault. Don't be upset when you want me back. I hate you and your stupid, pathetic daughter bench," Entitled Mother shouts, clearly pointing out my boyish hair and dragging her poor daughter along with her. Now, I'm biologically female, but I prefer a more masculine look, and currently go by any pronouns. I've had gender dysphoria before, but she made me feel really bad about it just then. I know this isn't the most exciting story, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. I mean, I get that you'd probably want to keep them around just for the kid's sake. You know, you don't want to exclude the kid because their parent is an awful person. But like, at what point does it get bad enough that this group should come together and say, "These people cannot keep coming here"? Like, I'm sorry for the kid, but your parent is honestly harassing and attacking other kids for no reason because they have diabetes they have to manage. This next story is, my father decided to take the car wheel from my hands in a bad situation, and then got angry at me when I stepped on the brake. Hi y'all, Candy here. It's been a while since I wrote anything on this sub, even though I have another story ready besides this one, but I need to finish it. To give some background to the story, since my mother wasn't at home around dinner, my father said that I could either go to the local McDonald's to get something, or sort it out myself. I chose to go to the McDonald's, and he proposed to let me drive his car. A good BMW, I won't give details, car that I don't actually know how to drive because it's way more responsive than the one I'm accustomed to. We got to McDonald's and came back with no problems. They arose when he decided to change the plans and made me return home with the car. Now, coming to the story, as I said, he wanted to drive back home with his car. He wanted to be dropped off near the entrance of my hometown, only that Mr. Parent of the Year decided to take the wheel from my hands. While near some cars, a wall, and almost on the sidewalk, some instinct I didn't even know kicked in and made me step on the brake as the car was approaching all the things I listed. But since of the responsiveness I mentioned, it made the car literally halt almost in the middle of the road. Now, coming back to Mr. Parent of the Year, started yelling in my face, punching me, and threatening me to park the car where he told me, only to change his mind and make me go home, with him aboard, blathering insults and other stuff in my face. And as soon as I tried to say that normally people don't put the hands on the wheel, especially when I'm driving a car like this, that only contributed to escalate the situation further with more punches, threats, and insults. The only funny part in this crap show is that he is going by foot from the house to my hometown center, which is a 10 to 15 minute walk on a road with almost no sidewalk for the majority of it. It makes me laugh only imagining his thought process, if there was one. Oh, and also, it's raining, even if not that much though. One last thing, while I was writing this, my mother called. Yes, the same person from other stories I posted. She was trying to assert damages, which fortunately there weren't any that I can see at least. Her other objective was to tell me, your father's like this, and that I need to have a self-preservation mentality. Basically, don't argue with idiots or crazy people, you'll make your situation worse. But put in a way where it looked almost like she too was blaming me for defending myself. I'm glad she agreed with me after I explained to her that I understood her point, but her way of putting it was not the best way to comfort your son after getting basically abused by your husband. I've got to admit, that was kinda wholesome of her intentions at least. I'm just concerned at how downplaying OP is of the situation, where their father literally punched them, and they're posting here almost as if they're just trying to vent a little bit, not really taking into account the severity of what's going on here. OP should legitimately report this. Our next story is, cousin abandoned my niece at my house while I was camping. Over the week, my husband and I went on a camping trip before summer season with its glorious warm weather was officially over. We weren't at home and had no cell reception where we were. We left Thursday, September 7th and returned on Monday, September 11th. While we were away, my cousin left my niece still strapped to her car seat outside my house door on Friday, September 8th and sent me some text messages. Remember, I had no cell reception where I was camping. I would never have known while I was gone. I saw the missed messages after I returned home. It wasn't a request to ask if I can help her. It was simply a message notifying me that she left my niece in front of my door along with a bag with her stuff for the weekend. She didn't ask me beforehand if I could help her babysit. There was no possible way for me to know. Even if I knew, I would have still declined unless it was a medical emergency in the family and they had no other choice. I live in a rural area where everyone is on 30-acre plots of land, so no one knew my niece was there. I had no clue, the neighbors had no clue. My niece was literally abandoned on my front door until Saturday noon when my parents came by to drop off my parcels that were delivered to their house. That's when they saw my niece. My parents called my aunt and had her come pick her up. I can only assume that my parents, my aunt, and my grandmother scolded my cousin for leaving my niece at my door. When I got home, all I saw was the initial text message telling me that my niece was dropped off at my place. Then a string of very rude text messages and voice messages from my cousin, calling me irresponsible for leaving my niece outside and endangering her. Because what if the coyotes in my area attacked the helpless infant? I'm just so frustrated. Honestly, they're all incredibly lucky that that infant is still even alive. I was reading this story kind of in horror, expecting like some terrible result at the end, because you're telling me that this kid sat there for all of Friday and some of Saturday, just strapped into the seat? That could have been horrendous. Our next story is, father covers for his new wife, is surprised when I cut him out of my life. Starting this out by saying what's done is done. This has been a long time coming and it's well deserved. Please don't suggest I try to reconcile with my parent. Edit, forgot to add amongst all this the entitled part. Father said that it's only $768 and that I shouldn't care if it was him or her that took it, that he's my father. Recently, I've come to learn that T, my stepmother, has only been around 8 years and whom I don't care for, stole $768 from me, 32-year-old male. When I spoke to my father, all he could do was complain about how many problems this is causing him, the stress on his heart, and how it's damaging his relationship. He didn't apologize for what she did, he just made the phone call all about himself. For a phone call that lasted an hour and a half, I probably spoke for 15 minutes or less. I told him we could talk about it when I get there and figure something out. He then suggested flat out that I can help him work to make back the money. Yeah, sure, let me perform physical labor to earn the money your wife stole from me and pocket you another $900. That sounds great. I was coming in from out of state for a different reason and already planning on staying at the house. This is my childhood home with my room still furnished how I left it. Like, my clothes are still in the dresser for when I visit. Plane tickets purchased and I sent him the confirmation date. The next day, he then texts me that I'm no longer welcome at the house, that it's time I grow up and seek healthcare somewhere else, and that he just needed to know where to send the money. This throws all of my appointments into the void, and I had to cancel and rebuy plane tickets because of it, and now I'm staying with other family. I know he did it to protect my stepmother from the confrontation of facing me in person. She crumbles to dust if people raise their voices around her or curse too much, even casually. For reference, this woman is in such need of therapy that I cleaned and rearranged the kitchen one morning, and T started crying and claimed I was kicking her out of the house by making it not hers. All I did was do dishes and organize and clean the spice cabinet and pantry. He keeps saying that it's for his health, that I'm not there, and that it's too much stress. I have my own money and transportation and provide my own food. The duration of the trip was 2 weeks. I block him and my stepmother on everything. I ask my family to no longer speak to my dad about me. This is all after a lifetime of abuse and narcissistic bull from my father. Now I hear through the grapevine that he's shocked. Just couldn't believe I'd do this to him. My sibling already no longer speaks to him because of similar things, and him telling my brother to grow up and quit being a softie after my sibling set a boundary with him. I'd warned him before that if he kept up in his ways, casually racist, homophobic, blatantly inflammatory, he'd have no one to take care of him when he's older, and he didn't listen. If that wasn't enough, my late mom's last words to him were, "Don't let the family fall apart." Way to go, Dad. Thanks for listening. I mean, this guy's just a classic narcissist, right? Even when being told, don't let the family fall apart, he's gonna take that and just have it go in one ear and right out the other. Maybe he'll turn the other cheek for a week or so, and then it just kind of creeps back to regularly scheduled programming. Our next story is my boyfriend's freeloading mom. I lived with my boyfriend, male 21, his brother, male 24, and brother's girlfriend, female 24, ever since they were evicted from my boyfriend's mother, female 55 plus, fully able body, home a few years back. Before she was evicted, she made a deal with her employers to turn her big house owned by her father into a senior living facility. She stopped working as much while spending almost all her money in secret. Her employers ended up letting her go and getting them all evicted. Now there's a lawsuit involved. Her and her father stayed in hotel rooms together. Her daughter, still a minor, had to go live with her father. More context from past. My boyfriend's mom spent so much of her then husband's money that she ended up leaving him in a lot of debt. They divorced, and she's always continued to talk crap about him in general and as a parent to everyone, including me and her kids. She had most of the custody, so she collected a lot of child support, which was not always spent on the kids. She even tried to continue to collect child support from him for my boyfriend once he turned 18. After a bit of their mom staying with their father in hotel rooms running out of money, she begged us to let them both come stay with us rent-free. My boyfriend's brother and his girlfriend were very hesitant to allow this because she's lied to my boyfriend's brother about money situations so much in the past. We all still agreed to give them a place to stay while she got her stuff together. Our only condition was that she had to get a job ASAP. She ended up going back and forth on if she was getting a job or not. In the end, she completely refused, so we told her they had to go. They went back to staying in hotel rooms together. Her father is old and showing signs of dementia, and she doesn't handle it the best. She ends up telling us that she cannot handle taking care of him, ironically, and she ends up arranging for him to fly back to his home country to live there with other family that can take care of him. She continues to be jobless, staying in hotels by herself for a while, and ends up meeting this other guy who's also homeless, male, 30-ish. They end up staying together in hotels, splitting the cost of the rooms, food, weed, cigarettes, etc. At one point, she ends up getting a job, but ends up quitting because she didn't like it. Without having any backup plan, she continues to be jobless for the whole rest of the time with this guy, and even gets a cat and dogs, claiming she can't work because she has to take care of them. This goes on for a while, and she starts telling us how rude and verbally abusive he is, and how she cannot live there anymore, or she'll probably just end things. She begs us again if she can move in rent-free, gaslighting and guilt-tripping, of course. We have an in-person meeting with her to tell her yes, she can stay with us, but only under our conditions. She'll have a job before even moving in. She will not smoke cigarettes because we rent, and it is non-smoking, and she almost caught our last house on fire smoking cigarettes in the backyard. She will be completely transparent about money and all that, and that she will not have any pets. She starts saying she would rather just stay with him if she can't bring her dog, gaslighting us that she'll just have to go back to the emotionally abusive place. Finally, we tell her, you can bring the one small dog, and only if you potty train her to go outside instead of on our carpet. She did not have a job the day she came, claiming she'll be applying like crazy to get one ASAP. So we let it slide, telling her she better have one in a month. She starts spending all of her free time decorating the house with ugly or trashy decorations no one wants up, doing little arts and crafts, sewing using our supplies, tanning, offering to do things like rearrange my whole bedroom, etc., not really taking any time to get her crap together and apply and get a job. Yet she continues to ask for money and for random things like wigs, sewing supplies, weed, vapes, etc. She even goes back and forth saying she'll get a job and completely refusing. She even had one lined up and quit the day before she was supposed to start for literally no reason. We tell her again she can't live with us if she won't. So she finally starts to put in the time, applying like crazy. She finally got a job after 2 months, but is barely being scheduled any hours at minimum wage. She isn't even close to taking home $1,000 a month, but continues asking us to buy her stuff while she spends her money on random craft supplies and weed and vapes. She asked me if she should keep applying at other places since they're not scheduling her much at all, and I say yes, but of course, my advice is not taken. The whole time, she's been causing arguments in the group chat with all of us over random things, like her assuming I'm mad she's laying down over a door closed a little loud. She's also had lied about smoking cigarettes at the house, has barely tried to potty train her dog, says rude, racist, homophobic, and transphobic things constantly, trying to boss us around in our house, lies about legal problems and how much money she has and makes, took some of our groceries without asking, broken things and when asked, ignored us, did not apologize, act entitled to our belongings, and many other problems. Also, she continued telling us the entire time that living with us sucks, we are abusive for having any rules for her, and that she has somewhere else that's better she can stay where she'll get more help. She doesn't, or she would have been gone. She's just trying to make us feel bad for her. And it's not like we can just have a mature conversation with her when a problem arises, because in her eyes, she's never wrong, completely entitled to her son's money and things and being taken care of by them, and can never admit when she's wrong. Instead, she takes it as a personal attack and just gets angry with us, shutting us down without understanding our side at all or apologizing. After the last fight she started, we told her she has a month to figure out where she's going because she can no longer stay with us. We are so over it. 21 days left. Yes, I'm using a countdown because I am that excited to have the house to ourselves again. We'll see how hard she starts gaslighting and guilt-tripping us when it gets closer and she doesn't want to leave. This will not be on our shoulders anymore. Hopefully this will be her big wake-up call and she'll finally be able to start taking her crap together and be able to provide for her still minor daughter again. Listen, I get having sympathy, not wanting to just shove somebody out onto the streets and leave them to flounder, but I feel like this person has gotten way too many chances and way too much slack. Somebody is really slacking in how much slack they're giving. Our next story is, I need to vent about my mom a little. I'm a 15-year-old trans girl, and my mom's been really bothering me. About a month ago, I told my parents that I was trans, and my dad, besides just obediently following everything my mom says, has been pretty chill and just treats me the same. But my mom, on the other hand, went weird? I don't know how to describe it. When I first told her, she made it this whole talk where she went through the classic, I love you for who you are stuff. But then she said that I might just be confused because I'm new to puberty, and that I would only truly know when I turn 25 because that's when my brain fully develops. Both of which I'm really sure are not right, but did she really say I was new to puberty? I've been going through this heck for 5 years now. And then she said I shouldn't tell anyone, besides who I've already told, which was them, my older brother, who's been really cool about this, and some of my friends. She said this was to protect me because we live in the country, so yeah, not a great start. But ever since then, it seemed like she got more, judgy? Like every move I made or thing I said was displeasing to her, but I thought it was my imagination because she's my mom, and she's always been a bit judgy because that's just how she acts. Well, fast forward to now, the other day I asked my friend, who I'll call Belle, to homecoming, and my mom wanted to know what Belle was gonna wear so I could match them. The next day I asked Belle, and they told me they were going to wear a plain white button-down with dress pants and shoes, which is pretty normal for homecoming in my school because no one here takes homecoming as some very formal event. Anyway, I tell my mom, and this gets into her I'm gonna be annoyed but not tell you why moods, and I thought it was because Belle's clothing choices. When my mom was asking if homecoming was supposed to be a formal event, I told her that it was more on the calm side, and that prom is supposed to be more of the formal event. She continues to be annoyed, and when I ask why, she says, I just don't know why you think I'm supposed to accept that the entire school is into this trans thing. I obviously ask her what the heck she's talking about, and she was apparently mad that I referred to Belle as they during our conversation, because according to her, You only use they about someone dealing with issues about their gender. Belle is trans, by the way. I'm just not saying their gender for privacy. This led to her telling me that I was just trying to get a reaction out of her and that she was gonna act her age and not fall for it, while I tried to calm the situation down by affirming to her that they is a common word to refer to someone with, and that I was genuinely trying to tell her the information she asked for. Then after she finishes her hissy fit, she tries to just go back to normal and try to be buddy-buddy with me a bit when there's obviously tension between us, and I just need some advice or words of confidence. It's pretty apparent that this thing is definitely kind of weighing on them. It seems like they're trying to accept it, but it's really kind of manifesting in some bad behaviors as well. I don't know if it would be helped trying to clear the air and just be direct about it. From the behaviors they expressed, I don't know if they'd be able to. Our next story is, my 24-year-old female mom demanded to be present during my gynecology exam and barged in. Sorry for the confusion, I'm 24 currently and my mom is in her early 50s. My mom knew about my appointment and that I was going to be examined, clothing would be removed. She wanted to accompany me last minute for support, and I couldn't argue with her to stay home or I would be late. I thought that she would wait outside. She's done so before, but for other types of appointments, but instead she tried to go in with me. The staff kept her out, and later she knocked on the door and walked into the appointment saying she needed to tell my doctor about my family medical history. I'd already told my doctor all of it. She was taken out of the room and the door was locked. When I left the hospital, she wasn't there anymore and was upset that I kept her out. I told her it was a very private thing to be asked about your past relationships and getting examined. I'm extremely shy with my body and it's always hard for me to do these things. So of course I didn't want her there or would even think for her to want to be there. She told me that she wants grandchildren and that she's my mom. Therefore it's not that big of a deal for her to be with me during my visit, and that I should stop acting like my body is sacred since I would need to get used to other people, medical staff, seeing it. She also told me that my dad is always with her whenever she needed to be examined, so I should allow her to be there with me. I told her a spouse is way different than a parent, and that since she hates to talk about sex and has tramp shamed me in the past, she's very religious and hated to see me with anyone, there was no reason for her to be there. I just know I would feel the exact same way as OP if I were in that situation. No way, even if they were the most entitled, narcissistic, and insistent parent I've ever had, would I allow them to stay in that room. The one consolation here is the staff will make sure that they get out of that room before doing anything. At least those people are serious about their jobs and, not doing anything that could cause a lawsuit. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left, or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.